Published, 1630 EST. January 9, 2018, updated, 1642 EST, January 9, 2018. SpaceX has defended its rocket performance during the weekend launch of a secret U.S. satellite. Amid reports that the secret satellite codenamed Zuma was lost, company president Gwen Shotwell said the Falcon 9 rocket did everything correctly Sunday night and suggestions otherwise are categorically false. Northrop Grumman, which provided the satellite for an undisclosed U.S. government entity, said it cannot comment on classified missions. Scroll down for video in this image made with an 8-minute-long exposure. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launches from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and lands as seen from the ocean. Club Marina in Port Canaveral. The company chose SpaceX as the launch provider, noting late last year that it took great care to ensure the most affordable and lowest risk scenario for Zuma. The name refers to a Malibu beach in Southern California. This was SpaceX's third classified mission for the U.S. government, a lucrative customer. It was so shrouded in secrecy that the sponsoring government agency was not even identified, as is usually the case. The Falcon's first stage completed its job, lifting the rocket off the pad and towards space, then separated and landed back at Cape Canaveral. But second stage information was kept to a minimum because of all the secrecy surrounding the flight. The rocket's second stage propels the satellite into orbit. The Wall Street Journal quotes unidentified congressional officials who were briefed on the mission as saying the satellite apparently did not separate from the second stage, and plunged through the atmosphere and burned up. Originally scheduled for a November launch, Zuma was delayed by potential concern about another mission's payload fairing, the shell on top that protects a satellite during launch. The company later said it had cleared the issue. Shotwell said in a statement that since no rocket changes are warranted for upcoming flights, the company's launch schedule remains on track. If additional reviews uncover any problems, she said, we will report it immediately. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launches from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station on January 7, 2018. On Sunday, SpaceX has launched a secret satellite codenamed Zuma on its first flight of the new year. Experts claim the satellite is now dead in orbit, but say the information blackout around the launch means we may never know its fate. Peter B. Deselding, a spaceflight reporter for Space Intel Report, claims a source told him the satellite may be dead in orbit after separation. Info blackout renders any conclusion. Launcher issue? Satellite only issue, impossible to draw. He added, SpaceX told Selding, we do not comment on missions of this nature, but as of right now reviews of the data indicate Falcon 9 performed nominally. Photos and video show the launch, a secret satellite codenamed Zuma, lighting up the Florida sky, but the exact position of its orbit was kept a secret. The ship launched in an orbit less than 1,200 miles from Earth and within 2 minutes disengaged its rocket booster, which then traveled back to and landed right at the Air Force Station. Much of the trip was kept secret and it was not revealed where the ship traveled to in the atmosphere. Selding said the lack of information was an issue. The launch is seen from Vieira, Florida. SpaceX launched its mission, a secret satellite codenamed Zuma, at 8 p.m. Pictured as another view made with a long exposure. The ship launched in an orbit less than 1,200 miles from Earth and within 2 minutes prepared for its rocket booster to land right back at the Air Force Station, which it distasteful to announce this stuff without beyond reasonable doubt certitude, he tweeted. But if those in the know refuse to speak publicly, we all abhor the vacuum, the facts will emerge one way or another. The launch was broadcast on SpaceX's website, but the entire mission was not live streamed. What the ship is made out of, among other questions, has not been revealed to the public. Previous reasons given for the delay in its launch were further testing being necessary and weather-related conditions. Musk, meanwhile, announced on January 4 that SpaceX will launch the world's most powerful rocket later this month with his own electric car on board. Falcon Heavy mega rocket will fire beyond orbit from the former Apollo 11 moon rocket launch pad at the Kennedy Space Center near Cape Canaveral, Florida. Musk said the launch vehicle will blast off at the end of the month on an unmanned mission with a unique payload, the billionaire's cherry red 2008 Tesla Roadster, which will be fired toward Mars. Rocket will use 27 engines and 3 separate reusable cores that will return to Earth after liftoff during the test flight, which is set to be one of the firm's most technically complex challenges to date. Elon Musk has announced SpaceX will launch the world's most powerful rocket later this month with his own electric car on board. The Falcon Heavy mega rocket, pictured, will fire beyond orbit from the former Apollo 11 moon rocket launch pad at the Kennedy Space Center near Cape Canaveral, Florida. If all goes according to plan, the Falcon Heavy will lift off and enter Earth's orbit, before 2 of its booster rockets separate off and return to Earth at Cape Canaveral in controlled landings. The rocket's central core will then separate from the main module, containing Musk's car, and begin its own controlled descent back to Earth, landing on the firm's Of Course I Still Love You drone ship in the Pacific Ocean. The main module will continue its trajectory into deep space, the billionaire said, with the destination set for the orbit of Mars 140 million miles, 225 million kilometers, away. According to SpaceX founder Elon Musk, destination is Mars orbit. Will be in deep space for a billion years or so if it doesn't blow up on ascent. Before the maiden launch, a full test firing of the rocket's engines is expected, Musk said. Falcon Heavy now vertical on the former Apollo 11 moon rocket launch pad, he wrote on Instagram on Thursday. At 2,500 tons of thrust, equal to 18 Boeing 747 aircraft at full throttle, it will be the most powerful rocket in the world by a factor of 2. Excitement on launch day guaranteed, one way or another. Hold down test fire next week. Launch end of the month. When it lifts off for the first time in late January, the Falcon Heavy will become the most powerful rocket in the world thanks to its 5.1 million pounds of thrust generated through 27 Merlin engines. The vast rocket, which is ultimately 3 Falcon 9 rockets linked together, will have the combined thrust to eventually launch 140,000 pounds, 63,500 kilograms, of cargo into orbit. The mission marks SpaceX's most ambitious project to date. Musk founded SpaceX in 2002, with the aim of reducing space transportation costs and enabling the colonization of Mars. The 46-year-old South African is also the CEO of Tesla, and predicts Falcon Heavy's payload will stay in deep space for a while. A photo of the unusual cargo, Musk's cherry red 2008 Tesla Roadster, was released last month. Images released by SpaceX show an original Roadster perched on a large cone inside the Falcon Heavy on what appears to be a secure mount to keep it stationary as the rocket makes its maiden flight. Test flights of new rockets usually contain mass simulators in the form of concrete or steel blocks. That seemed extremely boring, Musk said in December. If all goes according to plan, the Falcon Heavy will lift off and enter orbit before 2 of its booster rockets separate and return to Earth at Cape Canaveral in controlled landings. The center core of the rocket will then separate from the main module, containing Musk's car, and begin its own controlled descent back to Earth, landing on a drone ship in the Pacific Ocean. Musk said. The launch vehicle will blast off at the end of the month on an unmanned mission with a unique payload, the billionaire's cherry red 2008 Tesla Roadster, which will be fired toward Mars. Pictured as the car strapped into the Falcon Heavy's main module height, 70 meters, 229.6 feet stages, 2 boosters, 2 cores, 3 engines, 27 payload to LEO, 63,800 kilograms, 140,660 pounds payload to Mars, 16,800 kilograms, 37,040 pounds total width, 12.2 meters, 39.9 feet mass, 1,420,788 kilograms, 3,125,735 pounds total thrust at liftoff, 22,819 kilonewtons, 5.13 million pounds. Of course, anything boring is terrible, especially companies, so we decided to send something unusual. Something that made us feel. The payload will be an original Tesla Roadster, playing Space Oddity, on a billion-year elliptic Mars orbit. If all goes according to plan, the Falcon Heavy will lift off and enter Earth's orbit, before 2 of its booster rockets separate off and return to Earth at Cape Canaveral in controlled landings. The rocket's central core will then separate from the main module, containing Musk's car, and begin its own controlled descent back to Earth, landing on the firm's Of Course I Still Love You drone ship in the Pacific Ocean. The main module will continue its trajectory into deep space, the billionaire said, with the destination set for the orbit of Mars 140 million miles, 225 million kilometers, away. Musk has said the payload will be in deep space for a billion years or so if it doesn't blow up on ascent. In a Washington, D.C. speech last July, the Tesla founder which said Falcon Heavy is one of the most difficult and technically complex projects SpaceX has ever undertaken. There's a lot of risk associated with Falcon Heavy, he said during the 2017 International Space Station Research and Development Conference. Rocket will use 27 engines and 3 separate reusable cores that will return to Earth after liftoff during the test flight, which is set to be one of the firm's most technically complex challenges to date. Real good chance that the vehicle doesn't make it to orbit. I want to make sure to set expectations accordingly. Musk has spent the preceding months building up hype for the historic launch with a series of social media posts. Last month he posted an image to Twitter of people stoofed next to a landed Falcon Heavy rocket to give an idea of the vehicle's scale. He tweeted, "Falcon Heavy launching from same at NASA pad as the Saturn V Apollo 11 moon rocket. It was 50% higher thrust with 5 F1 engines at 7.5 mpound F. I love that rocket so much. He also confirmed the rocket will have a max thrust at liftoff is 5.1 million pounds or 2,300 metric tons, adding the first mission will run at 92% capacity. Falcon Heavy to launch next month from Apollo 11 pad at the Cape. Will have double thrust of next largest rocket, guaranteed to be exciting, one way or another, Musk originally posted. Billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk announced the latest addition to his company SpaceX's arsenal, the Big Fucking Rocket, BFR, and it could revolutionize transport on Earth as well as in space. Musk said the vessel would both take off and land vertically, like a space rocket, and for Earth travel, will take off from floating launch pads moored outside major cities. It would fly most routes, New York to Tokyo, for example, in about 30 minutes, and anywhere in under an hour, and Musk says the cost per seat should be about the same as full fare economy in an aircraft. A trip from Bangkok to Dubai would take 27 minutes, and from Tokyo to Delhi in 30 minutes, according to his calculations. It could even take people on rapid trips around Earth, with a flight from London to Dubai taking 29 minutes, while passengers will spend just half an hour in the air on flights from London to New York. Once you are out of the atmosphere, it would be as smooth as silk. No turbulence, nothing, he said. There's no weather, you can get to most long-distance places in less than half an hour.